Yes, it looks like things are not as good as we thought for Museveni and his so-called army, quote unquote. Because what is happening now is that he has ordered the army to take over all construction projects, I think, uh, in Uganda National Roads Authority, ministries, and all this kind of stuff. Now, in a letter he wrote to his wife, oh, just so you know, the wife is the Minister of Education, and he wrote to Museveni wrote to her. I don't know why he didn't just like tell her at home that look here, the UPDF is going to take over all the construction projects. Why do you need to write to your wife? All right, directive to use the directive on the use of the army brigade to undertake government construction projects. As you may be aware, over time the Uganda People's Defence Forces has built capacity of the army construction brigade. This brigade has been very instrumental in implementing many projects ranging from simple to high level and advanced construction projects. Moreover, because this is part of the UPDF, the country has made a lot of savings in terms of funds and time. Unfortunately, I have noted with concern that many of the government projects in other sectors are often delayed due to lengthy procurement processes and, in other cases, corruption perpetrated by some unscrupulous government workers. I'm very certain that we can avoid all these delays in implementing government construction projects by utilizing the Army Construction Brigade to undertake these works. This is therefore to direct that with effect from financial year 2021-2022, all new construction projects for health facilities and schools must be undertaken by the Army Construction Brigade as a pilot. This directive will be gradually extended to cover other sectors of the government. Now, this is really interesting because you would have expected that maybe this would be on the basis of COVID-19 and all this kind of stuff. There's a couple of things in this particular statement, and it's really something to be um, to be worried about, especially if you are an NRM supporter. I recently told someone that Museveni is cash strap. He has no money at all. Like he's as broke as a mouse church. You know that church that stays in the mouse? That's how broke he is. That's why so many people are going haywire. They are saying that we cheated for you the elections, we stole the election for you, but you haven't paid us. Some of them are even looking for jobs. Now, this is coming at a time when you look at the regional politics, especially where Uganda has the biggest army or contingency, that is in Somalia. Now, what is happening is that with COVID-19, even most of the rebels and terrorists have not been quite active. So that has meant that for countries or for leaders and dictators that have been relying on deploying armies to make money, they are no longer going to be able to make money. Now, Museveni, when he went to Somalia, he thought that he would never get out of the country. You know, whenever we invade the country, we always want the conflict to continue so that we can send more soldiers. And when you send more soldiers, it means that you're killing the boredom for them to be in these barracks. Because an idle mind for a soldier is one that they get different ideas. Ideas like going and assassinating or overthrowing a government. Speaking about assassination, if you guys saw what happened in Haiti, it really sent shockwaves. I think in a future episode I might talk about it. It sent shockwaves to especially anyone in that particular position, if at all you're a president, because there was not any kind of sophistication in the assassination of Juvenile Moise. Now, Museveni, seeing that, he's aware that whenever you're having these military men who have come back home from Somalia, because Somalia no longer needs Museveni's services, he's no longer the regional power blocker. The US is leaning more towards Kenya to train soldiers and then send them to these other missions than relying on an old dictator that will soon get out of power in one way or the other. And after he's out of power, the continuity of US operations and the Western operation is not guaranteed. Now, the other issue is that we saw that he was interested in going into the Congo. But now, operations in the Congo, it seems they have halted for a while because, like we see, the French are even pulling out of the Sahel and these other regions. Now, he's aware that he is going to have a lot of military men in the country with guns who are idle. They are used to being deployed to South Sudan. They go even up to Chad. They go even up to Equatorial Guinea. This is where the army is being exported, the Ugandan army, as mercenaries. So having them seated in the barracks doing nothing, they might get other plans of overthrowing him and all this kind of stuff. So as a matter of fact, he's trying to find some things for them to do as we speak today. Now, I wouldn't like to throw Katumba Wamara in there, but that's quite interesting. The other issue is that, of course, being that he is cash strapped, and I think that because the army in Somalia has always been paid by AMISOM, that is the African mission in Somalia, that is supported by Western countries as well as the Americans. Now, with the withdrawal of the Ugandan troops, what that means is that America and the West will not be financing the UPDF and its mission in Somalia. So it means that that is going to hit Museveni's budget quite hard. And as a matter of fact, he has to look for money where he has to look for money in order to pay these soldiers. Because if the soldiers are not paid, then they will sort themselves out, given the fact that they have guns and all this kind of stuff. So the fact that he has no money to pay them, so he's throwing as much stuff as he can to see what sticks. For example, he is doing these COVID things to help them to during lockdowns and all these patrols and all this kind of stuff. But even the army presence, you can see, is not that much, because because look here, the idea is that do not, because the police can be used to not being paid for 6 months or 10 months. That's the police. It can go for 10 months without being paid, and they will not even raise a finger. The army cannot go past 5 months without being paid. If that happens, you're gone. If you go to these countries like Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Revolution, and all these other countries where people were overthrown, even Mobutu himself, he knew very well that the army salary had to be on time. If at all the army salary is not on time, and if at all you do not provide mechanisms for them to make some money, well, you're in for trouble. So, the withdrawal of troops, the lack of political instability, because now Museveni is very envious about the Rwandese. The Rwandese have been invited by Mozambique, by the Mozambican government, to intervene against the so-called quote-unquote ISIS in Mozambique. The SADC, that is South African Development Corporation, the SADC countries, had spoken to Mozambique and told them that, look here, guys, let us get this army and send it over, a group of military men to send it over to Mozambique in order to avoid the spillover of these guys from your country to the rest of Southern Africa. They refused, and Mozambique opted for the Rwandese to go and fight against these insurgents. Now, the other thing you should know that the French have a lot of interests in Mozambique, and the French had recently visited Kagame. So maybe the French might have helped Kagame in one way or the other to cut that deal and send troops over there. Now, when Museveni sees that Kagame has been able to deploy somewhere around the continent, and as per him, no one is calling him up to go for a mission or things of that sort. That becomes challenging to him. So he has to make sure that he gets where to put this energy of these army corps that are redundant, I must say, because nothing is happening in the country and nothing is going on. And trust me, with these roads that they are going to start constructing and buildings, don't be surprised when they start beating people. Sorry, when they start falling on people, because I bet you the rate at which people have been stealing these building materials, it is going to triple or quadruple because of these so-called army guys. Now, he mentions that there are different projects that these army people have been constructing and doing, but there is no evidence to that. Like even if you look there and they say, okay, we only see these UPDF guys moving with brooms, doing what we call Burunji Wansi, picking polythene bags and things of that sort. But having a building unit that can construct a road, well, they are up for the challenge, but we can only watch and see. And trust me, the other thing that is going to happen is this. This is going to be short-lived. Because when funders are giving out money to for these construction projects, what usually happens is the fact that, because this also uh, signifies something in Museveni's donations and funding that he has been getting from the West. So this signals that either that the funding that he has been getting is going to reduce, or it has been cut, or he's not going to be able to get the funding that he has been getting. And as a matter of fact, so what he relies on, because he has always told people, I've developed Uganda, built roads, built construction, whatever, built schools and hospitals and all this kind of stuff. So building and building and building is part of his strategy to convince people that, look here, this is what I've done, so you should have to vote for me all the time. Now, what usually happens whenever these companies, when these European companies give funds to African countries or third world countries, they always come with what we call strings attached. And those strings attached usually range from the people who are going to be employed to build the road or the hospital or anything of that sort, the suppliers. There are so many clauses that are in there that make it hard for countries, third world countries, to actually employ their own people. Like, for example, a country like China, if China is going to build a road or a railway line, does not accept local companies to build these roads. They are the ones that come in with their expertise, with their supplies, and then they build for you and give you an already finished road. So what we see here is Museveni is ready to play ball. Whether it is the Chinese that construct the road, he's always going to take the credit, or the Italians, even if they are built on a loan. So what he does is, like, if the loans are not coming in, he's like, okay, now it's time maybe to engage the UPDF. So you should ask yourself, is it only the UPDF that can construct roads? Aren't there Ugandan companies that can construct, Ugandan construction companies that can construct roads? Is this a reward to the UPDF? This is what we call state capture by the UPDF. Now, state capture is the idea that, rich people make laws in the country and, they call the shots. But what we are seeing here is the gradual takeover by the military, whereby by maybe, I don't know, if we do not stand up and raise up, in a few years, we shall see that the parliament is also taken over. We are seeing ad hoc committees being selected without the consent of the parliamentarians. We are seeing over 10 MPs in the parliament of Uganda. We are seeing military men being appointed in the cabinet while they are still serving. So many things are happening. So from here, Museveni is likely, I don't know why, if he doesn't have any doctors in the military, I don't know why he doesn't call upon them to, start treating people. Where are the teachers? You tell the teachers as well to start teaching our kids in one way or the other. So all in all, what this is basically is that Museveni cannot pay. His financial aid that has been coming from donor countries has reduced. And thirdly, he is trying to divert the energy of these military men that were deployed in different parts of the country, also in different regions where there is no longer war and where these regions have actually moved on. So having a redundant army that is unpaid, hungry and angry is really a recipe for a coup, just like it happened in Haiti. All right, that's just my analysis, but I hope you guys also have your own understanding of the situation. Sorry about Katuntu's picture being there, but that is for my previous episode. Let us just meet in the next episode and see what's going on. Have a nice one.